Salute Knicks Nation. Let's talk about this game. Man, the New York Knicks dropped three in a row, losing to the Orlando Magic tonight at MSG. The start of the homestand is not off to a good start as the Knicks have not won yet in year 2025. Three losses on the bounce now after the last game. Obviously, it was tired legs, second of a back-to-back. But tonight, man, we look like the tired team against the short-handed Orlando Magic, who were on a back-to-back, off a back-to-back themselves. Tonight, no Karl Anthony Towns, no Deuce McBride. The Knicks lose 94 to 103, their worst three-point shooting game of the season, and tied for the worst of the current NBA season around the NBA. The New York Knicks shoot something like 20% from three, could not buy a three. That generally tells us, man, that is tired legs right there. Karl Anthony Towns, man, based on tonight, is the MVP, right, in my opinion. And a salute to the chat, salute replay squad. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Thibs. Let's talk about this current state right now. Where to from here? We've got the Raptors up on Wednesday, and then the big rematch against Oklahoma. We've got some news, obviously, on Karl Anthony Towns. He is day-to-day, so it's nothing major right now. He's dealing with knee tendinopathy, which is basically some soreness. And but the Knicks miss Cat in a big way, this one, right? When the threes aren't flowing, tough to get into our sets, against the second best defense in the NBA tonight against the Orlando Magic. And the Knicks were stuck in mud, man. We're going to talk about Thibs' decision personally, obviously, recently with the minutes and the conversation going around that. But tonight, I thought he really missed the boat with some decisions. He started Jericho Sims in the absence of Karl Anthony Towns, and I don't like that. I don't like that. We've seen Jericho Sims enough, and I think there's nothing more to see. It's 4-on-5. But yeah, give us your takes, guys. We'll shout it out. Knicks therapy tonight, man. On the streets are buzzing. I'm frustrated. I mean, I can kind of understand why the Knicks look so bad. It's still really frustrating, but obviously we're going to go through the minutes as well. I got a chart to tell you where the Knicks minutes stack up around the league and why this team looks so lethargic tonight, right? And our guy is playing huge minutes, but Thibs just making the wrong calls. In my opinion, starting Jericho Sims. The Knicks recalled Huck Porty from Westchester only to not play him, man. A DNP for Huck Porty tonight, man. I don't even know why they bothered, right, to call him up. And I give Thibs the F, fam. It is inexcusable, Sandman. And I know Thibs is safe, which is, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Obviously, the Knicks are in a good position still. But in terms of beyond this year, I mean, I could see a real possibility where Thibs might not be back next season. Right? I do think you'll see the season out. It was a bad loss. The Knicks are in a good position, but I mean, we just see the same stubbornness over and over. I mean, give us your thoughts on Thibs starting Sims, because to me it looked like 4-on-5 out there. There's just no other way to say it. It is 4-on-5 when Jericho Sims. He had about 10 times where he had the basketball facing the basket, a professional basketball player, and turned the other way. Man, I mean, Clyde's sick to death of calling it out. I mean, it's 4-on-5 out there, and Thibs has some affinity for Jericho Sims, continues to start him. They call up Huck Porty, he gets a DNP. Precious Achua was bad tonight as well. The Knicks were very bad. So I'm not just singling out Sims, but I'm more putting that on the lap of Thibs, right? This is a veteran coach he's just geriatric right now. It's just not going to get it done. Buzzer Beater says, disappointing game. Salute Prezi, the boss in the building. Buzzer says, I don't think we took them seriously. I think, yeah, there was an element of we were coasting early and we were kind of in control for like a quarter, but they were just right there. And it just looked like one of those games that was just going to creep up on you where, if we let them hang around, Cole Anthony, I tweeted this out, Cole Anthony is the Kobe White of Knicks killers. Man, obviously his father, he loves to ball out at MSG as well. But I mean, it's just sickening. Also, we didn't play a high IQ game. It's not just legs, it's not just outworked. We weren't high IQ tonight. The couple of back-breaking threes from the Magic, we helped off of KCP, literally the only shooter on the Orlando Magic that has made a name, made a career out of being a three-point shooter. And Josh Hart has 1 foot in the paint, sagging off of KCP twice for two back-breaking threes. I mean, just a really low IQ situation where the Knicks were trying to get stops and got a couple of stops, and they're letting the only shooter wide open. I mean, after that, I knew we were toast. Man, you can't leave KCP wide open on that one. And then Hart fumbled the basketball as well when the Knicks were making that run. He bobbled the basketball about 8 times on a possession, and I couldn't grasp it, and then turned it over. The Knicks pulled within 5 and were hoping to make another run, but that is it. The bench continues to struggle. Landry Shamet, can't buy a three. Fam, as we look at the numbers tonight, I mean, the whole team gets an F for me tonight, top to bottom, but I'm going to leave it at Thibs with the F. And as I pull up the team stats, right, a ghastly, basically a 20% from three, the New York Knicks. Man, unbelievable. I mean, tired legs, and the New York Knicks, just when they can't hit a three, they just couldn't get into the paint. I also want to put this loss into some context. And I've been saying this for a minute, guys. Orlando are a deep team, so they are very, very short-handed, and embarrassing loss. But I said this even before the season began. When you can sustain all those injuries, you're a team like the Orlando Magic. No Franz, no Mo Wagner, no Paolo, no Gary Harris, no Suggs tonight. But they still have Wendell Carter, Goga Bitadze, Isaac, and Jet Howard as well, Cole Anthony, Anthony Black, KCP. I mean, when they're fully healthy, I said it at the start of the season, they are the deepest roster in terms of just, 15-man roster as well. And that's a credit to them. They are fourth seed, and they've been able to sustain all those injuries because they are a deep team. And we're the complete opposite. No Deuce McBride, no Karl Anthony Towns, and we look like a lottery team without two of those guys when you factor in the tired legs. D. Grant says, CT, when you have tired legs, that means you are tired in the brain, which leads to bad decisions. I'm sick of Thibs. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm sick of this sort of story. We've seen it year upon year upon year, failure to trust the bench, running guys out there too many minutes. And you see letdown games like this, but there is options still. Not saying it's going to be a world beater and all of that. I feel like what Thibs is doing is he's ignoring options. You got young legs like Kolek. You have to rely on them at some point in the season, guys. It's a marathon, not a sprint. At some point in time, even if you don't want to, every team has to rely on some of their bench and their rookies, even if it's for a tiny stretch. You sign these guys, you're paying them a wage, make them earn their money, right? These guys out there just in street clothes, Huck Porty just, jumping up and down from the G League, not getting any minutes, Kolek, Dardier. I mean, it's also top to bottom. It's on Leon because you signed all these guys. If you're not going to play them, trade them at the end of the day, right? You can't have these guys earning money when these guys are literally, burning themselves to the core, the Bridges, the Hearts, and they're going to need their brothers to help them out at some point. So we take a look at the numbers, and then I'm going to bring up this chart for the minutes, guys. But yeah, continue buzzing in the building. Sandman says, I don't want to chew on the roster. I can understand the frustration. He is an inconsistent player. At his best, he can be a solid backup player, third string. When you're competing for a championship, yeah, I do think Precious is going through a rough patch right now. We're seeing inconsistency. How much you can depend on him to be the primary backup center. I think that is maybe a catalyst for Leon Rose to look at a Nick Richards, look at a Valanciunas, Walker Kessler even, if it is going to cost one of our rookies. But yeah, we're not contending quite at this stage, fam. unless we deepen our roster right now. Troy says Thibs needs to play the bench. Absolutely. Out rebounded tonight, guys. I mean, Jonathan Isaac is long, Bataze, Wendell Carter as well. They were crushing us in the paint, and they were basically sealing off the paint and just making us jump shoot. Tonight, Bridges was cold. Obviously, he's tired, man. He hasn't missed a game in his whole career, which is unbelievable. But yeah, nothing really stands out to me so much in terms of that's surprising. I did think this was going to be a get right game. There's no doubt about it. I didn't expect us to look this bad. Having a break yesterday. Obviously, the back-to-back in Chicago against Chicago was understandable because the travel, the flights, the close game against OKC the night before was a playoff type game. But then you think, okay, we get back to New York City, we have a day's rest, and then we come out and play the worst lack of energy we've played all season. And you combine that with a 3-point shot missing, Cat and Deuce being out. I mean, that's both games that Cat's missed. Now, Cat's missed 2 games this season, and we've looked god awful. Not even average, but just really, really bad. It's like we don't know how to play without Cat. His floor spacing is incredible for this team, and I think he is the MVP of the NBA season right now. I mean, without Cat, we're probably a less than a 500 team, maybe a 500 team, and we're 11 games over 500. So that tells you how important Karl Anthony Towns is. And also Deuce McBride. Not going to forget about Deuce either. So what I'm bringing up right now, guys, it's a perfect opportunity to make this conversation about the minutes because, this is a game that we don't lose like this unless these guys aren't gassed like they are. This is the NBA leading minutes individually, according to this season, NBA.com, fam. We have the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 7, and number 15th most logged minutes in the NBA this season. Bridges at number 1 with 1,400 minutes. Josh Hart is number 2 at 1,300 minutes. This is in the NBA, by the way, not just Knicks. OG Anunoby is 3rd, so it's a triple sweep. Hart, Bridges, and OG, top 3. Brunson is top 7. And Karl Anthony Towns is top 15 in the NBA in minutes. What stands out to you guys when you see that? I know what I'm thinking, but what stands out to you guys? Pablo says 18% from 3 and 16 assists. I think Kolek deserves a chance, Sandman, the way he's been playing in the G League. Ultimate Box says, plus it develops the young guys. I've been tired of Thibs. Yeah, early in the season is the best opportunity to give guys some minutes because you may need them later in the postseason. You may need them when some injuries hit, and you got to ramp these guys opportunities up. And I ain't saying play them heavy minutes immediately, right? This conversation about minutes is nuanced for me. It's not just like play Cole at 25 minutes, but you got to sprinkle these guys in. There's opportunities. Split your rotations if you got to. Play Bridges with the bench unit a lot more, just so he can get, more rest and then more opportunities to run the bench as well. So I mean that's crazy to me. 1, 2, 3, 7, and 15 in the minutes. But there's another chart I've got as well, and this is 5-man lineups. The New York Knicks obviously come in at number 1 in the most used 5-man lineup. Cat, OG, Hart, Bridges, Brunson, the starting 5. The second most used 5-man lineup is the Minnesota Timberwolves with 418 minutes played together, that starting 5. And the New York Knicks is basically 33% higher than the second most used lineup. Basically, 610 minutes compared to the second most used 418. So it's played 200 more minutes than the second most used lineup as well. So that matches the 5-man lineup conversation and then the individual, lineups as well. Ed K says Payne has been awful the last games. Why not try Kolek as the backup? That's another great opportunity, the catalyst to play, Kolek some more with Payne struggles right now. Look, I was very optimistic. Payne, we'd seen some good signs, but obviously now we're seeing, why a veteran minimum player, is on a veteran's minimum, and why, they're available in free agency. Look, he can give us some solid service, but when you really depend on that, to be a championship contender, you're going to get, periods where they underachieve, and they're streaky right now. Landry Shamet's been really disappointing since he got back. And I know, he's working his way back from a shoulder injury, but I mean, I'm not seeing anything he's giving us more than what Pacome Dadier can give you. He gives you basically 4 inches in height, more length on the defensive end, and he's shooting the three no worse than Shamet. Maybe even at a better clip, I think, in his limited sample. Pressure Sims really, really bad tonight, in my opinion. Out hustled, out muscled. They look small out there. I mean, Papa Brunson said it at the courtside interview with Hahn tonight. He said we look small out there, and that's an assistant coach saying that. And meanwhile, Ariel Hukporti is sitting there on the bench as well, which is frustrating to me because we know he can give us some size, some hustle and muscle as well. Moses Brown at 7-1, playing really, really good ball. Buzzer says Cam is a streak shooter. David says no defense, no energy. We needed to get stops. On a night where the shot wasn't falling. You're 100% right. We needed to get stops on that one. Terran Mosley says we're not winning no chip with Thibs. I think the ceiling is, there's less margin for error, and obviously Thibs can overachieve in the regular season. We've seen that, and we know his strengths. He can do some good things, but I think there is a cap. I think there is a cap right now. The offense looks very predictable. We're having to run, our guys into the ground. Brunson's just such a warrior. You see him fight and do everything that he can. But yeah, everyone gets the F tonight. And Dwayne Freddy says Thibs not developing any of the young guys is a big factor in this season. It's dumbfounding to me because Dadier was trusted on opening night in Boston, and he went away from that. He played Hukporti down the stretch of some really meaningful minutes against Cleveland, against some other teams, and then he just completely banished him, into existence. Fam, and then they call him up tonight and they don't use him, man. I mean, he's a he messes with your head, this Thibs. I understand why Obi Toppin, basically lost his top. Obi Toppin got frustrated with Thibs as well. Hector says Orlando played some young guys to beat the Knicks. They're off a back-to-back, but they're very deep. As I said, guys, anyone that missed it, I'm not just saying this tonight, but I've been saying that Orlando are the deepest roster in the NBA. I mean, the proof is in their record right now. No other team can sustain being the 4th seed with 2 of their major players out. They're just incredibly deep. It's fortunate to them because they don't have to pay any guys major salaries. That's why. The other reason is Jonathan Isaac took a really below market deal because, he's been injured for so many years now. So you got him coming off the bench. Wendell Carter has become a journeyman, so he can come off the bench. There's a reason why they are deep. They've got guys on rookie contracts still, Paolo and Franz. They did get Mo Wagner at Goga Batase, on a very good free agent deal. So they're paying him peanuts. This is what happens when your roster is top heavy, in terms of salary. Bridges, OG Anunoby earning 40 mil, Hart earning 20 mil, Brunson earning 25, 30 mil, Cat earning 60 mil. You don't have money to fill out the rest of the roster right now, the bench. You're going to need these rookies, you know? Either you sign better veteran minimum guys or you play your rookies. There's no other money available to sign better guys. And that's why the Mitchell Robinson trade conversations won't go away, because he's the elephant in the room. He's the 14 to 16 million in salary that the Knicks badly need. And right now they're not getting any production. They've got 16 million in Mitch. When they're having to play 4 guys on minimum salaries in the rotation. And Deuce McBride is on peanuts as well. Deuce McBride's on 4 mil. So the Knicks caught a break, getting him on a cheap deal as well. That's what makes losing DiVincenzo, and we had him and Hart coming off the bench. That's what makes that a really tough blow. I know the Cat trade has worked out really well because of Cat, but there's a negative effect to that, obviously, and your depth is depleted right now. Hector says Thibs got to go, and AP says God forbid Thibs is wrong and gives the rookie a chance. The problem is Thibs will give guys a chance, but he waits too long. He literally gave Alfred Payton till the final playoff game, I think, to take him out. He'll go down with the ship, with his guys. He'll sink with the ship with his own guys. Alec Burks. He waited like 30 games to take him out of the rotation last season, only to put him back in because we needed bodies back in game 6 and 7. So he's just extremely stubborn. I could see him starting to play Kolek, but it's probably not going to be for 20 more games. That's why he's old school. That's why I don't think he's effective right now at the moment. His decisions are questionable at best. And right now, today, we caught the full brunt of that 4-on-5 offense against the NBA's second best defense, and the length and the physicality that they play with. I mean, I ain't even mad at Jericho Sims. I ain't even frustrated at him. We already know what he is, what he's good at, what he's not good at. And Thibs is okay starting the man. It's 4-on-5. I mean, we've got shooters that can't hit a 3. We've got a center replacing Cat that won't even look at the bucket when he's right underneath the bucket. So, yeah, I mean, Precious will always get minutes. He's inconsistent, but you got to deal with that right now until Mitch gets back. But the Huck Porty versus Sims thing, I think now's the time to have given Huck Porty a bigger shot. Even Moses Brown, both been playing really well in the G. Hidalgo gives McCall an A, Brunson B-, Hart a D, OG C-, Sims a D, Precious and Shamet Fs. I think I agree with the latter half, but I think you're being kind and generous on McCall, Brunson. But they definitely tried to their capability, but they didn't have it going. Jason says Thibs got to go. Keep it real. All this talent, ain't nobody scared or playing D at the moment. That's the coach's issue. I'm not giving Thibs a pass on this one. I agree with you. I think Thibs will see out the season. We're not in a position, unfortunately, fortunately and fortunately, he will see out the season, I think. But I think all bets are off for next season right now because Thibs just continues to make dumbfounding decisions to me personally, right now, and I know the whole conversation for the minutes justification is, all right, who's he going to play? If you want to win ball games, he has to play his starters. It's not that simple. There's other solutions, right? You got guys that you can sprinkle in. Second night of a back-to-backs. He didn't do that last time against Chicago. Blowout victories, up by 15 with 4 minutes remaining. 2 minutes remaining, and you're still playing Cat. You're still playing everybody. That's a chance to give guys an actual break when you're leading by 15, and you trust your bench. The other thing is, switch up the rotations, play Kolek for 3 to 4 minute stretches and then get him out, you know. You don't have to play him heavy minutes. Pacome Dardier, another one. Play him so that there's always OG or there's always Bridges on the court at the same time, or Brunson and Cat, so that the lead doesn't evaporate. I think better coaches will make more use of what we have. Dwayne says every team we play is more deeper than us. Look, it does seem like that, when they're playing with length, physicality. We have struggled against teams with length. Dallas, Houston Rockets, Atlanta. We have struggled in some of these games against the Magic, although we have won the season series. Tonight would have been a sweep. So I can understand why Orlando, got chippy tonight. They did play harder than us. They didn't want to get swept, but the Knicks still won the season series against Orlando. So if it does come down to that tiebreaker, the Knicks still have that on the Magic. But right now they closed the gap. We saw Paolo Banchero on the bench tonight. He's coming. Think about what they're doing right now without Paolo and Franz. I do not want to see this team in the playoffs. And I don't think that's an overreaction. AP says, yep, Leon Rose has to figure it out, or they become Phoenix. Man, you make me laugh with that one. But yeah, I agree. It's funny because the Phoenix are exactly what we're a better team than Phoenix because we've got we've got more talent in their prime. But yeah, we're a top-heavy team. We're not that big three kind of thing. We do have some good depth pieces, on reasonable contracts in Hart, in Deuce McBride, Mitchell Robinson when he's healthy. So we're not that sort of top-heavy big three, but we need more from OG Anunoby on nights when Cat's out. The spotlight goes on the next guy. You see, you can't hide when one of your major pieces is out. That's why I do respect the Orlando Magic, because they ain't hiding, man. Franz, Paolo go out, the spotlight is on these other dudes. They showed up. They're keeping their franchise afloat right now. Our $41 million man, OG Anunoby, when Cat is out and he wants to take a bigger offensive load, we get 9 points tonight. 0 of 3. He was tired. No doubt he looks tired, but you can only use that as an excuse for so long, because we did have yesterday off. Tonight, the Magic was on a back-to-back. Hart, 5 of 9. Hart battled, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals. I'll probably give Hart and Brunson a pass. Everyone else gets an F for me. It'd be a C-, a D, C- for Hart and Brunson, and it'll be an F for everybody else, fam. For me, and I definitely gave the F to Tom Thibodeau for some of these poor decisions. It's definitely piled up on us, fam. I'm not gonna lie, when it rains, it pours, and we did empty the clip in Oklahoma. Maybe we're saving up our energy again for a second bite at OKC this Friday, man. That game has now been moved to NBA TV. We had the Pelicans game get bumped out, and the NBA has put the Knicks Oklahoma rematch on NBA TV now, fam. So everyone's gearing up for that rematch, fam. But we better get some rest, fam. We need Cat back. PH says Sims, Brunson, OG, and Bridges played the entire first quarter. Bridges into the second. SMFH. It's inexcusable. Inexcusable. I agree with you on that one, man. I'm tired of Thibs at the moment. I really am. And I'm someone who's glass half full. That I don't just like to go in based off a whim. There's things that I haven't liked about Thibs, even when we're doing well. There's always those things that do annoy you. But obviously, our regular season record is always inflated. When we got the 4th seed with Derrick Rose, we pushed hard for those wins. Um, when we got the 5th seed and we faced Miami, and then last season when we got the 2nd seed, um, he does get the most out of you in the regular season, and then the postseason is a crash down to earth. You know. Now, if we had a roster like the Orlando Magic, Thibs would actually be a good fit. Thibs would be a good fit for Orlando. He would probably trust eight. He'd probably trust 9 men when they're fully healthy. He'd probably play an expanded rotation with those guys, um, because they're deep. They're like 12, 15, 13 deep. Um, with us, I think Leon Rose really needs to, we say this all the time, and he's done some fantastic work, has Leon Rose, but, his toughest work yet might be to come, man, to get us over the top, get us some extra pieces. And if I'm a betting man right now, as the trade season is kicked off now, guys, I was going to say this anyway, but I'll be surprised if Jericho Sims is still here after the trade deadline. There has been some interest from other teams. I think he's expendable. And I do think if I'm a betting man, I think the Knicks will find another team for Mitchell Robinson. It just makes more sense to me. There's no other way we can top up our depth in a serious way, unless you're signing buyout guys or veteran minimum. I've even heard some people suggest trading Hart, which isn't going to happen, and I wouldn't do that. I think that's jumping the gun. You trade Mitch, you trade Precious before you trade Hart. But yeah, that's just the logical way to rebuild our depth, fam. Davis says we need TJ, get Brown on a 10-day, give him a shot. I agree. Hopefully, I like TJ. I like Moses Brown. They could give us some energy. But once again, will Thibs play them? That's another comeback that people say against for Thibs as well. You give him more pieces, he ain't even going to play them. That's where it comes down to, fam. There's been so much change in this franchise over 5 years. There's been so much turnover, but one thing stayed the same, and his name is Tom Thibodeau. Right? The buck stops with him. The buck stops with Leon Rose. Nobody else, right? We could give these guys half of Orlando's roster. Thibs might not even play them. It comes down to his stubbornness at the end of the day. I firmly believe there's a capable guy, an Ariel Hukporti, and he's deciding not to play him. The Knicks called him up from Westchester today, and he didn't even get used, man. It was sickening, really. I could understand if this was kind of that close game. It looked like the Knicks were hustling hard. We're going to pull it out. Okay, you rock with Sims, you rock with Precious, you let them get you the dub. But I mean, it wasn't even going that way. It was like, get these guys off the court. They just don't have it. And give Hukporti a chance. And nothing. I mean, he just sat there. Eddie says, unfortunately, Thibs will not play the rookies until half the starters get hurt. And yeah, you could make the point like PH says about playing at home. That is the time where you can play some of these guys. Maybe they're more comfortable. Troy says the Magic defensive scheme is great, but in my opinion, they're not a good team. Just a very well coached team. Yeah, they do have their flaws, fam. I think 4 to 6 seed is about right for them. Paolo does make mistakes as well. They are very ill-disciplined. We got to see Jalen Suggs foul out twice against us, just because he can't get out of his own head. Sometimes he kind of plays like Julius Randle. If you guys notice similarities between Jalen Suggs and Julius Randle, they play on that edge, and sometimes they cross that edge where they get heated. They take these matchups personally, and they foul a lot as well, too. So yeah, I just call it like I see it, man. I don't have any agenda. I'm Knicks diehard till I die. It's team first on the front of the jersey, not the back. And I certainly don't have any loyalty to any coach, fam. It's whatever gets it done, and I will call it out if if there's egregious mistakes, egregious decisions, errors, whatever. Doesn't mean I don't support the team. Doesn't mean I don't want it to succeed. It's those people that want things to fail is where I have an issue with. You can't be a diehard Knicks fan and want things to fail. I don't want things to fail, but when you are seeing some things, crash around you, you have to call it out. You have to call it out. At the end of the day, it's the only way you're going to get better. You can't keep putting up with, insanity is the same thing over and over again. At the end of the day, and look, I care about these guys because their health is important, for their careers. Fortunately, a lot of these guys sign the bag, they sign their security. I can understand why OG held out for every last dollar, because when you've been battling injuries, you play for Tom Thibodeau, you better get that bag, and that's exactly what he did. He signed for the most he could get. Hart, the same. He lays it all out there, but a lot of these guys won't speak up. They say the same thing. Like Kat said yesterday, he said, I like being out there. I'll play till I need to play. All of those things. These guys aren't going to say anything different. The players love being out there. It's the medical staff, it's the health science people that need to override. And remember, the Knicks signed Casey Smith from Dallas, the leading sports science dude. We haven't seen him interviewed. I haven't even seen his face. It'd be interesting to see what's happening behind the scenes with some of these guys. We look disconnected tonight. As Absolute 72 says, Mikal does not look connected with the team. I think he's come good recently. You see these letdown games, though, where the offense just, guys aren't on the same page. Guys are waiting for someone to cut. If they don't cut, then it stalls the offense. It's very read and react. You guys know what Thibs runs by now, fam. It's read and react. If guys aren't reading, they're not reacting. Things just turn to mud. And it's easy for a good defense to call the plays out. Just play man to man, even. They could throw zone at us. They blitzed a few times. Obviously, everybody in the league knows Brunson is our engine, right? If you try to slow him down, you slow the engine down, and the other guys just are standing around looking at each other, and we do need more ball handling at times. That's why the lineups with Brunson and Deuce McBride are some of the leading lineups in the NBA, leading the Knicks. When you have that second ball handler together with Brunson, things look a lot better. That's a case to play Tyler Kolek. Definitely more minutes. The Knicks can, they do, trap and attack Brunson a lot. So far Cameron Payne hasn't been that playmaker that we need. He can score, but he can't, he can't really play make. Today he got stripped by KCP. We saw that as well. The Knicks just getting stuck into mud with that one. So yeah, there's a few options. I would definitely give Tyler Kolek a chance now. I say give him a chance, give him an audition, give him 5 to 10 games, see what you got, fam. This is your chance. You could take over Cameron Payne's spot. It's a kill or be killed world. And I think, eat or be eaten. These guys need a chance to earn their keep. Right now, Cameron Payne, there's nobody coming for him. There's nobody, giving him competition. So Tyler Kolek deserves a chance, in my opinion. I honestly felt like Jericho Sims already missed his chance, but Thibs keeps giving him, a reward, to start a ball game. To me, you haven't done anything deserving to start a ball game. And that's also a roster issue right there as well. And then wing length, defensively shooting as well. There's nobody to come in and give OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges Hart a real spell, and Chuma Akeke is playing well in the G League. TJ Warren, they're not getting a chance. Pacome Daddier, he ain't getting a chance either as well. Yeah, he kind of ticks some of those boxes. I would give him a chance right now. It's kind of disrespectful from Orlando what they're doing. They had Queen out there, they had Anthony Black, they had Jet Howard, showing us up. These guys that they're basically the same as Dardier's and those guys that they're taking their chances. But yeah, they got a younger coach. They got a younger coach willing to give their young kids a chance. That's how Orlando's come up right now. Buzzer says TJ Warren is cooking the G League. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he hasn't been called up, and I think he will get called up very, very soon, fam. So maybe I take it as a positive that he's waiting for the Knicks. The Knicks may be working out a couple of deals, maybe going to waive somebody, maybe do a 2-for-1 and get a roster spot freed up. Because I do feel like there has to be a team out there that would call up TJ Warren, man. The guy's an NBA rotation player right now. So yeah, that narrative about Thibs not playing rookies, that continues. Shah France says worst loss of the season. I have to agree. Have to agree, fam. There is context to it that Orlando have a deep roster and that, but I mean, you can't make any excuses against for the Knicks today. I mean, Magic on a back-to-back, missing 4 of their 5 best guys. Missing the 5th player as well, Gary Harris. And that's why I just said at the top of the show, man, I think Karl Anthony Towns is the MVP. We're that thin where you take the best player out off our team, and we're worse than a team missing 4 of their 5 best players. Now we did play down to the competition early. It was a tighter game to start. First quarter, the Knicks were up 28-24 as well. It was a funky start, but then down 2 at the half. Poor bench minutes in the second quarter killed us. I thought Jericho Sims was really poor in that second quarter as well. So many sequences where the Knicks just offense stalled because he wouldn't look at the bucket. Now, he made some nice plays as well. You get plenty of minutes. You're going to do some good things, some bad things. I think you got to weigh up the positives and the negatives. And I think Jericho Sims it's playing 4-on-5 offensively, unfortunately. Now, he does get rebounds, will give you some tip backs, sets good screens. That is why he's still, on a roster. And I think he does those things well. But ultimately, when you're playing 30 minutes, you end up with 4 points. That's hurting your team, in my opinion. If you're out there for 30 minutes, you're minus 4 points. You're not looking at the bucket. Unlimited Box says we lack athleticism. We truly struggle with those types of players. Yep. Against those athletic teams, it's tough. It is tough, and I think, I've previewed, how our roster might look next season. I think this season was a year to kind of develop Dardier because you might need him next season a lot more. 6'8", he's growing. He might be 6'9" by next season. He's a player that we're going to need as a proper wing, fam. We're going to do plenty of trade deadline shows as well. There's some cheaper wings out there that I know some people aren't talking about as much. Talk about at least guys that can be athletic, defend physically, take on the assignment of the other team's best wing player. There's guys out there on good salaries that we can trade for. Josh Greens, there's Matisse Thybulle, Dante Exum is a wing defender as well. Those guys are on low salaries. There's unheralded players that I think the Knicks are going to have to look out for, man. Diamonds in the rough. There's guys in the G as well. If we want to look in our own backyard, there's a Kike with Westchester. Moses Brown might be the best options. We ain't have a lot of salary to work with. Maybe we do want to keep Mitch just in case that Cleveland series comes up. Maybe that matchup against Joel Embiid comes up. There's pros and cons. Mustafa says Thibs should start Precious at the 4 and let Hart come off the bench. Would give us more scoring and production off the bench. That is something I was talking about earlier in the season when there was some struggles, and Hart was, not clicking. But then Hart started to find his game and things were gelling, 9-game winning streak. But the problem with Precious starting as well is you lose you lose more of the little ball handling that you have, and it puts even more pressure on Jalen Brunson, in my opinion. Because Bridges ain't playmaking the way we need right now. We know OG can't play make. We know, Cat's probably the second best playmaker, fam. Troy says, I guarantee you Kolek and Huck would be in the rotation on most teams. I think they would have had a bigger chance, especially Dardier. I really don't know what happened with Dardier because I thought he was at least defending in his minutes, was playing decent, was shooting the 3. Kolek had some moments where defensively it was like, okay, the other team got on top, and Kolek's defensively was struggling a little bit. But I thought at the bare minimum, Pacome Dardier, even when the shot wasn't falling, he was defending with good energy. He was disruptive. He could give us 8 to 12 minutes a night. But yeah, I do agree. Hart's minutes need to go down, man. Hart was a shell of himself tonight, and he's the first guy we're gonna run into the ground, fam. Not gonna lie, man. The numbers don't lie. Here are the numbers, fam. Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart leading the NBA in minutes. OG Anunoby, number 3 as well. So we're not making up a narrative. We're not, jumping the gun, all of these things, man. The numbers are right here. They're facts. They're factual. There's nothing to dispute. The Knicks are leading the NBA in minutes by a wide margin right now. It's up for interpretation how you want to see it right now. The Knicks don't have the depth. I understand that. But there's guys that, you need to play more just to help, preserve these guys right now. If they are this important, the logic should be to preserve them, and stretch these minutes out as well. Now, Cat misses his second game of the season. Hopefully that's nothing that lingers around, but he is 15th in the NBA in minutes right now. We know him and OG haven't been the most durable players as well. Jimmy T says Thibs is going to re-sign Taj Gibson. I could see that. He's with Charlotte right now. I'll do a 2-for-1, fam. Let's get Taj Gibson and Nick Richards, fam. Even if we did have a deeper bench some of those years, yet Thibs still likes his short rotations. That's a fact too. Like, even if we did have a deeper roster, PH, then Thibs does like his short rotations, He likes his 7-8 men. Just so, when the playoffs start, it's basically like the playoffs begin, straight away. And these guys are ready to go. I get it. Look, there's positives and negatives. You get a better regular season record, but then the problem is, as I keep saying, fam, the regular season is a playoff warm-up. That's all it is. Game 1 of the postseason, it's 0-0. Right? It don't matter what your record is. It's a clean slate, and so yes, seeding is important, but at the end of the day, how many wins and losses you got, all of that goes out the window when the playoffs begin, right? We've seen 8 seed, beat the top seed. If you aren't at your A game, you can get knocked off. It's just the way that it goes right now. And if we play without Cat, we play without Bronson, I do have concerns, so all in all, man, where my concerns are at as a whole, I think it's right now, it's 7 out of 10, It's always been 5, and I maintain that even when we were slumping. And I knew we were going to pick things up. I knew we were going to get on a run, and we did that. But just looking basically now as a whole, in context, we're at the halfway point in the season now. My concern level is at a 7 in terms of I see clear deficiencies in this squad, in the depth, and in Tom Thibodeau, to compete for the championship this season. Next season is another season. Season after that, we're going to have chances to upgrade the roster and upgrade our depth. But I'm just speaking about this season. I definitely felt like the Knicks should be going for the championship. You don't have years to waste, unfortunately. In this NBA, you got young teams coming up. We saw the Pistons win tonight again. They're looking really good for the future. Even Washington looks like they're coming in a few years' time. They gave us some problems. Tonight, the Orlando Magic, when they get fully healthy, they might even get on a huge run and make that third seed difficult. What do you guys think about that? You have to take your chances right now. You just never know. So yeah, we've got some young talent, but I'd love to be a fly on the wall between Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau, because these guys need to be in lockstep. Leon's making all these moves. He's signing these guys. He's drafting these picks, these diamonds in the rough in the second round. But at what point, most of the time we'll run down their rookie contract and won't use them, and then they don't have value anymore. We had hopes with Quentin Grimes, fam, and I know Quentin Grimes was underachieving, was hit the wall. He was a late first round pick, but just as an example, he showed promise, and we went for the win now move. Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic helped us on a playoff run, but one season later, those two are gone, and Quentin Grimes is playing with Dallas now, playing consistent, playing better basketball out in Dallas. I hope things go differently for guys like Kolek and Dardier. Before we end up playing Dardier, he might be on his third season of his rookie contract. And then you got a decision to make. You got to pick up their options. You got to extend them, and then you got to scramble to find a trade if you don't want to extend them. Basically, we lucked out with the Julius Randle situation because Randle came up to free agency coming up. He has the player option, and the Knicks just couldn't find an agreement, so they had to find a trade. But fortunately for us, we found an MVP caliber kind of player that was willing, that we were able to trade for, and got Karl Anthony Towns. But theoretically, Randle's value around the NBA, it wasn't that high, so if the cat trade never popped up, we were in a bind with the Julius Randle decision, and questions could have been answered in terms of why we didn't trade Randle a year earlier. And so, you have to be ahead of the game with these rookie contracts, as well. I do think Indiana's kind of falling behind as well. If you guys see Indiana, they had to trade Jalen Smith. They had to trade a few of their other guys, maybe Benedict Mathurin. Obi Toppin's lost value now as well. So these teams with more depth, if you don't make quick decisions on their contracts, then you can be left high and dry, fam. And I think Orlando's going to have to pay everybody soon. Oklahoma is going to have to pay everybody soon. And they see Sam Presti was ahead of the curve. Josh Giddey, they didn't want to extend him, so they traded him immediately. They got Alex Caruso. So we'll see what Leon Rose does. If they feel like Dardier, Puck aren't long-term pieces, I won't be surprised if they do use them for a win now piece. For a win now piece, because you've chosen your destination. Your destination is to compete, to go all in right now, and you've got rookies that aren't playing. So, and the bench is really struggling. Salute Michael Drake, catching up on Raw. Salute to you. I heard Raw was crazy tonight. How was it? Probably better viewing than the New York Knicks losing to the Orlando Magic, right? 94-103. Couldn't buy a three, man. The Knicks just fatigued right now. Hopefully we get our legs back in the next one, fam. January started rough, man. 3 in a row. I would have signed up for 9 and 6, but right now the Knicks are going to have to go. The Knicks are going to have to go 9 and 3, basically now, fam. Before the month began, 15 games, 9 and 6 was best case scenario for me, as I would have signed off. But right now, 3 losses in a row. The Knicks are going to have to go 9 and 3, to finish 9 and 6 for the month, fam. Some of that good work that we did is imploding a bit. D. Grant says Leon going to have a sit down with Thibs and tell him to play the bench more. Hopefully those conversations are happening, fam. Because right now, I mean, I feel for our players. I really do, because I know OG's better, Hart's better, Bridges is better. They just look like they didn't look like NBA players tonight. They were making dumbfounded errors, mishandling the basketball, mentally look fatigued as well. I mean, Hart was staring into space on the bench, fam. I know that adrenaline was flowing. It's that competitiveness in him that wants to play better. But the mind says one thing, the body says another thing, you know? It's like when you're 80 years old and your mind still wants to keep going, but the body is different, you know? These guys want to push through the pain barrier, and that's usually when an injury happens, you know? Their mind tells them to keep pushing, but then their body gives way. Remember OG Anunoby, he pulled his hamstring in game 6. Not game 6, it was game 3, I think. He was pushing through the pain barrier. Yeah, Jimmy, I think Thibs will see out the season. I think for better or for worse. I can't see, with all this stability with the franchise and guys that love Thibs, that play hard for him. I'll be so shocked if it gets to the point where Thibs doesn't see out the season. But I do think if, let's say it's a first round exit, second round exit playoffs, we underachieve, I could see something happening in the summer, and I think that is the time to make a change. Outside of that, though, Leon Rose does need to, to pull rank, and change things up, I think, before it gets worse, Right now, it's not even, it's not a crisis. It's a mini slump. That's all it is. But right now, there are signs. There's signs that this thing could get worse, and you want to nip it in the bud. You want to nip it in the bud, because our season literally, I don't want to say this, but our season literally hinges on a Jalen Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns injury. That's not hyperbole. If these guys hurt themselves, they miss 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, big or small, our season can hinge on the health, and we know it full well with this guy, Mitchell Robinson, fam. Mitch tweeted this out today. Mitchell Robinson has spoken. He says, "It's so amazing that y'all know what happened and still fault me, but wonder why I act the way that I act. All love, though," says Mitch. He's talking about Joel Embiid, of course. But we know what he means, really, right? He's saying that, hey, I'm not injury prone, but, I got into some situations. I played hard. And this is what happens, fam. And this is what happens. So let us know what you think, according to Mitchell Robinson, with that one. As I said before, we have some news. Knicks Thunder now replacing the Pelican Sixers on NBA TV Friday night. The thing about the Thibs situation is, I was thinking this last week. It could be a mutual agreement where it's a win-win, where he goes upstairs to the front office. I could see the Knicks keeping Thibs around. With Leon. Patrick Ewing has a job with the franchise now. I can't see them firing Thibs and just kicking him to the curb. I think if Thibs doesn't become the coach anymore in the future, I think there is a job for him for this franchise for life, with Leon Rose still here. And I think he might, he always wants to coach, but, he still might enjoy being around the day to day, be around the day to day kind of thing, analytics, I don't know, develop coaching, all of that kind of thing. He does develop players. Thibs can develop some players. But just as the head coach, I think the game is passing him by, fam. Personally, right? The offense is outdated. I know in terms of our defense, our offensive numbers, I think that's relating to our personnel. There's Rick Brunson, Patrick Ewing, Jay Wright. I mean, I do think we'll probably go more of a players kind of coach, a younger guy. Johnny Bryant did leave to be with his boy in Cleveland, but yeah, guys, it's frustrating. I hope we don't undo all the great work we did right now. That would be so ironic, man. Go on a 9-game winning streak, exhaust the players, they crash down to earth, and we lose 4 or 5 in a row. I mean, that would be complete irony, fam, right there. But the biggest problem is our depth right now, fam, and Thibs' inability to trust, some of the guys that are capable of giving us a spell. I think definitely Cameron Payne's been up and down. He's had some good moments, but right now, if we're fair and it's earn your keep, he deserves to have a seat right now, and Tyler Kolek deserves a chance, right? I don't think he could be any worse right now. It ain't like Cameron Payne's coming in giving us 13 points a night guaranteed. Right now he's streaky at best. Landry Shamet, I'm willing to give him 5 to 10 more games because he's dealt with a shoulder injury and the major comeback rehabilitation, but 5 to 10 more games of Landry Shamet, and then I'll make a decision as well. Precious Achua, can't afford to not play him. He just has to play better. He just has to play more consistent. But we do know that he lacks size. He, at the 5, and he does have those limitations. So I do think Precious is better suited as a backup 4, and you do got to play Huck Porty or Sims next to him off the bench, ideally. Now, the Knicks made some decisions with Matt Ryan. They gave him the a real roster spot to keep the seat warm for Shamet, and then they made the correct decision to move him back to the 2-way. But now the time has come when, these 2-ways are quite valuable now, fam. And right now, you're giving him the 2-way, but you don't want to play him. So that's a waste of a spot for me. So have a seat, Matt Ryan. Go back to Westchester on a G League contract. Let's bring up Okeke on a 2-way. Let's bring up Moses Brown on a 2-way. Somebody that we can actually try to play and hopefully, give us a minute right now. See, the problem is we keep signing players with no intention to play them. Last year in the postseason, we had Hart go down. We had OG Anunoby go down. We had Bojan Bogdanovic go out for the season. And Mitch went down. And we had about 4 guys on the roster that Thibs didn't want to play. They were just basically, towel waivers in Daquan Jeffries, Diakite. We had Shake Milton as well, and we had Dwayne Washington Jr. as well. All these guys were just collecting a check, and we weren't using them. And it's kind of history repeating with Matt Ryan right now. I know we made the use of those guys. We did the trade and we flipped them to get the Bridges trade done, so that was useful. But during the season, they weren't useful. Right now, and I do think, guys, if you're going to win a championship, your whole squad becomes really important. Us Denver, when they won the championship, they got huge minutes out of Bruce Brown, out of Braun, Christian Braun, and they got huge minutes out of these guys on their bench right now. You need all 15 guys if you're going to go on a deep run right now. And that's just how it goes, to get through the season. Remember the last 2 seasons with Jimmy Butler and why the Heat have failed? It's because basically they didn't have enough. When Jimmy went down, when he's out, they're a shell of themselves. It's kind of the same as us right now. If Brunson's out or if Cat's out, we're toast. Now OG, Hart, Bridges, they're great glue guys, great role players, elite wing defenders in OG Anunoby. But at the end of the day, I still don't feel like OG Anunoby will step up to be a secondary scorer. Some nights he can be the third scorer, but like tonight you see, in a small sample, that he's not capable of really carrying an offense. You don't see him step up and play make. You don't see him, isolation kind of thing. He's an off-ball player. He's OG Anunoby, an elite off-ball player, and worth his money. The New York Knicks are highly successful with OG since that trade. But coincidentally, this is the first time now in the OG Anunoby regime, with the OG Anunoby tenure with the Knicks, that the Knicks have lost 3 in a row. Yeah. The Knicks had only ever lost 2 in a row twice since OG's become a New York Knick. But this is officially the first time now ever that the Knicks have lost 3 in a row with OG Anunoby as a Knick, fam, in about 60 games now. So let that sink in, fam. For the first time in about 60 games, the Knicks have lost 3 in a row. Buzzer Beater says, do we really want a former head coach with his success record hanging over the team? I think it's time to, if we were looking for a new coach in the future, I think it would be beneficial to get a guy with good experience, but a guy that's still young, whether he's got good experience as a college coach or, not one of those guys that's been around. It's like his 5th job. I think that would be something that would be tried and tested, like Thibs already. I think something different. We could bring in some offensive coordinators. I do think that is something that a lot of people have preached, but Thibs just ain't open to that, fam. Like, for example, the Pelicans have Mike D'Antoni just as a consultant to Willie Green, and all he does is draw up offensive plays to give them to Willie Green. That's all he does, fam. But yeah, the Knicks don't do that. They run a very simplistic offensive scheme, fam, right now. Michael Drake says, guys, understand this. If you change coaches, you can stop this franchise from going forward. I think nothing will change unless it kind of runs its course. And I think this season is kind of on the brink of running its course with Thibs. And I think you make a decision in the summer. Like I said, if we were a 2nd round out, 1st round exit again, that would be 3 years running. I think that could arguably be the definition of running its course. Now, things can change if you upgrade the roster and you get Thibs the extra depth that he needs, and guys that he is going to play. then things can change, and maybe you bring him back for another year. But yeah, in my opinion, I think we're seeing the same things over and over with these bad decisions, and it's not just the minutes. I know that's all people want to talk about. I also mentioned many other reasons tonight, like decision making and stubbornness. For example, he'll have Jericho Sims out of the rotation, and then when Cat's out, Jericho doesn't just come into the rotation; he starts. Right? Name me another NBA coach that does things like that. Who puts a guy from out of the rotation to starting? You know, wouldn't Precious Achua starting be the logical thing? He's in the rotation right now. And then when Cat gets healthy, Jericho will go back out of the rotation again. So he does these quirky, wacky things. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Another reason I said tonight, he'll play Dardier opening night versus Boston in enemy territory, hostile environment. In his first ever NBA game, he'll play Pacome Dardier, and then he'll banish him, and he's not even seen anymore. The same can be said with Huck Porty as well. Huck Porty closed the game out against Cleveland, closed the game out against Minnesota, I think, and now he can't even get a go, even with injuries. So there's no rhyme or reason to me to some of the things Thibs does. I think it's outdated. I think it's antiquated, really. He's running these guys, with these minutes. It's insane, for one team to have the first, second, third, seventh, and 15th, most used guys right now. Now, you can keep that up for maybe 20 games, maybe 30 games, maybe even 50 games. But at what point does a human body, break down, at some point? It's like when you run a vehicle, you run a car without rest, without servicing. That car is going to break down, at some point, fam. The human body is the same thing. You know what I mean? So I hope things change. But yeah, man, tonight was just a really inexcusable loss. We kind of looked at things from a bigger picture tonight, not even analyzing this ball game, because we know why we lost. Depth, Cat being out, guys looking really tired, and it was a bad matchup against Orlando that were physical. Van Venture says, been exposed since the Wizards games. I think it's an example, but not the best example. I think Wizards, have beaten some good teams as well. But yeah, I think you do see signs against teams with length, with physicality. You see, your weaknesses. Every team knows what their strengths and weaknesses are, and even Boston would know what their weaknesses are as well. And I do think the Knicks' weaknesses is definitely length, athleticism, and guys that teams with deep rotations, guys that can just keep coming at you, deep bodies. It's kind of like Indiana in the postseason last year. We were losing bodies. They were throwing more bodies at us. They had Mathurin, they had Nemhard, Neesmith, TJ McConnell off their bench. Obi was running off their bench. They were just running us into the ground with that one, fam. Yeah, look, Thibs is a GM in Minnesota. It didn't go so well, fam. He does have his certain types that he likes, fam. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. I'm excited. I'm hyped for the rest of the season, but I'm more excited to see what's going to happen with this upcoming trade deadline right now. We got to solidify our depth, fam. We've got to make some tough decisions as well. There aren't going to be some easy decisions, You see emotions playing into it. Mitchell Robinson, I know he's fighting hard to get back healthy. I don't blame Mitch at all. I know some people want to blame him, right? He's a 7-footer. He's dealing with injuries. Some of it's controlled, some of it's not. What happened in the playoffs was Joel Embiid, but right now he's fighting his way to get back. But the Knicks will have a tough decision to make about his future right now, and especially needing that contract to potentially pull off another trade. And then you got some minor pieces. Precious waived his no trade clause. That was a part of the agreement that he re-signed, to waive his no trade clause so that the Knicks could use him in a trade if they needed right now. And he's definitely not untouchable for me based on what I've seen. Now, ideally, I would keep him and put some more pieces around these guys, but his $6 million might be able to get you some more depth. My prediction is, like I said before, I don't think Jericho Sims stays beyond the trade deadline. His contract is expiring. The Knicks will basically lose him for nothing if they don't decide to use money and bring him back next season. So now is the time to strike. If a team calls you up and they offer you a couple of second round picks, if they call you up and they offer you another, role player that, you think can play, you do that deal. When Mitch is healthy, everyone's healthy, Jericho's out of the rotation. So if you can get something back for him, you absolutely do it, in my opinion. So I do think a player like Jericho might be gone at the trade deadline, and then I think one of these rookies might go as well. It might be Huck Porty, could be Dardier. I do think they probably prefer Tyler Kolek to stay out of all of the rookies. But as an attachment in a trade, I don't see any rookie untouchable either. Because remember the goal, guys. Everyone's seat is getting warm. This is a championship run the Knicks are trying to go on. Thibs is not playing these rookies right now. His ammo is to compete right now, and so the Knicks, are going to have to make some tough decisions, fam. Coming up, there will be a heap of teams inquire about Deuce McBride, but the Knicks should hang up. The Knicks should hang up. Unless they're getting a bona fide starter and they can push Hart back to the bench, or they're getting a bona fide player and they can push Bridges back to the bench. There's no way you trade Deuce McBride, right? But let's see what else happens around here, fam. So that is about it for tonight, fam. We've got Wednesday coming up, another homestand game. The Knicks could get their first win of the year, 2025. The Knicks have not picked up a win yet. Let's get that win soon, fam. Peace, blessings, happiness to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the comments. Appreciate you guys all. The passion, the energy. I see it. I feel it. And the New York Knicks, man, got to get back on the right track right now. We've come off track a bit with this, but we've got to steady the ship. We've got to correct this and get back to a win right before the Oklahoma game right now, fam. Otherwise, I don't want to be going into that Oklahoma rematch on a 4-game losing streak. A losing streak that they started, and they'll be thinking we can add a 5th loss in a row to that on Friday if we don't beat the Raptors, fam. But the problem is, on Wednesday, Emmanuel Quickley is healthy. He's coming back into MSG, I think for the first time, or the second time since that trade. RJ Barrett coming back as well. And the New York Knicks will have work on their hands if Karl Anthony Towns is not back healthy as well, fam. Hopefully Deuce McBride is back as well, fam. We really, really, really miss Deuce McBride, fam, as well. Criminally underpaid and underappreciated is Deuce McBride right now, fam. I mean, he's a starter in my opinion. I'm not going to lie, right? To me, Bridges been playing really well recently, and when he's going, he's better than Deuce McBride. He's going, but as a sample, as a head-to-head, toe-to-toe, Deuce McBride is just as important as Mikal Bridges, in my opinion, fam. You could argue he's more consistent shooting, and his defense on the perimeter is more consistent as well. So, we really, really, really miss Deuce McBride, and let's Let's get him back real soon, fam. Peace, everyone. Have a great night.